No Box Dance presents dance behind the screen, process production, and social media. Don't forget, say no to the box. Dile no a la caja. 고정관념이란 상자에서 벗어나세요.
Welcome back to Dance Behind the Screen podcast. This is your co-host, Azaria, and I am the Manager of Resources and Archives for No Box Dance.
Hello. This is your co-host, Reina, and I'm the Manager of Community Engagement for No Box Dance.
Hello, this is YeaJean. I am the Programming Director for No Box Dance.
Hello, this is your co-host, Marthea, and I'm the Managing Director for No Box Dance. We hope you're having a great week so far. Today, we have another exciting show in store for you. We extended our open call online where people could submit a short proposal about a topic they want to discuss right here on DBS. Today's guest, Caroline, submitted a proposal to discuss the rise of the dance short film.
Yes, in this episode, we had co-host Paty, who is the professor at University de las Americas Puebla, and she's also my dear friend. We had a very productive and fun conversation about how online dance streaming affects dance making and seeing dance, and also some of the behind screen about dance film production part.
Caroline began her journey as the founder and executive artistic director for the Caroline Liviakis Dance Company, choreographing and producing live performances and interactive experiences. Now, she brings her creative vision to digital form as a choreographer and director of film, music videos, and commercials. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, Paty and Caroline.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Today, we want to talk about the rise of the dance short film. Can you briefly share your relationship with dance films?
For me personally, what attracted me to dance film and just to anything digital in the dance space was I found my choreography is extremely gestural and it's very theatrical and it's very detailed. Everything from little finger movements to blinks of the eyes to, what the mouth is doing. I'll choreograph it to that level of detail. And I was finding that on the live stage, that level of detail and what made my choreography really special was just getting lost. Especially when we would record, I would get the feedback from the audiences because it's so energy filled. Anytime you have a very theatrical choreographic style where it's a little bit less like, balancing or something where it's just very line based. Anything that's very line based is going to it's going to translate well on video naturally when you're recording a performance. But if something is very theatrical and it's all about you communicating your energy specifically to the audience, there's definitely going to be something that's lost when you're just recording a performance passively in the background. And I just kept finding that was happening. And it drove me nuts because I get the audience being like, oh my God, that was so powerful and sexy and whatever. They were just overwhelmed by the performance. But then I look at the video of it and I'm just like, really? Is this, because I'd be dancing in my own works too, so I didn't really get to experience it. And it just drove me nuts because I was like, this is not what I choreographed. And I know that it wasn't, but how can I get the experience that people were having live? How can I get them to experience that on film? And it's not going to be through just passively recording with a tripod in the back of the room. You have to take the movement and design it specifically for the medium of the camera. And so I found that challenge of how do I get my energy, that theatricality to really translate onto the camera. And then also, how do I get to use the camera to really highlight the things that make my style unique? So choreographing just face dances where we're just doing a close-up of the face and it's 2 minutes of eye movements, of eyebrow movements, of the movements of the mouth. And how can we make that into a dance in and of itself that you couldn't make possible on the stage?
I feel like we all have this passion that we want to show more detail, movement to audience, which they might can lose it during live performance. Like, so I think the camera movement is part of the choreography. So we actually have more work to think about it beyond choreographing onto dancers' bodies. So I wonder what is your secret sharing these details to the audience and share that energy?
I guess the first starting point for anybody choreographing just in general is just to understand the limitations of the medium that you're choreographing for. And the limitations are going to be what provide the structure that you work with. So in terms of, and we're really familiar with this on a live stage, if we're thinking about just a really traditional proscenium arch, you have your box. I mean, your stage is a box unless you're doing 360. So, and then you're thinking of, okay, well, I'm choreographing this for an audience. So then where is my viewer able to look? Well, the viewer can look anywhere that they want. And that's the freedom, the challenge, but also the freedom of a live performance.
Right.
But you can use designs of formations, you can use lighting, you can use sets, you can use all of these things to further compress and to further direct where the eye goes. So then you're translating that same idea into the camera. So you have this frame to work with. And so you're translating that same idea of design of how am I pinpointing that person's focus, or do I want to have it where their focus wanders around the frame? And you create a dance basically with people's eyes. And I think like seeing different studies on, they even have like attractiveness studies and stuff, but of other things of where do people's eyes wander on different parts of a page or on different parts of a photo, and some of those studies are just really fascinating, but it's really interesting to understand just visually or geometrically, where is an eye going to first go to in Western world, usually top left, because because of our reading direction, but just thinking about that design of where is my eye going to go first? Do I want to demand that they keep their eye there? Or do I want to break it where they have to immediately go to something else? Or do I want to kind of stay on this frame for a while and have them wander? So how can I use my frame to create competition visually with the eye?
What separates for you a dance film from a regular dance video or an Instagram or TikTok? Or can that also be dance film?
I'm going to give what I define it as, okay? And I'm not necessarily saying that this is the end all be all, but with the idea behind a dance film is really that it's narrative driven. And that the idea is that you're trying to communicate a larger story or a larger theme. And then from a practical perspective, there's also the idea that there's supposed to be, if it's truly a film, there's somewhat of a higher production value to it, or at least the intention behind it is, versus, I'm recording something because it looks cool. Or just because, I just want to show off some awesome moves. That's kind of a dance video, like we're showing some moves, but a film, the idea is that you're using dance to communicate something bigger than that. And something that has a through line, and it can be conceptual. It doesn't have to be like, I went to the store, I bought an apple and I ate it. It can be, I'm exploring sorrow or something, just basic like that. But okay, how is the movement communicating the arc of sorrow versus just hit, done. Likes, you know what I mean? Where it's just, there's a little bit, but that's kind of the way it is. But and obviously there's so much gray area with that, and people are making films on their phones. That's totally fine. But the idea is just not like I'm setting up my phone and I'm just going to take it from a single angle, maybe alternate between two angles. There's actual planning and thought of how is my camera operating in relation to the movement that I've set. So there's a dual amount of, there's two sets of choreography.
We also want to talk about the dance film distribution too. My question is, what does the distribution strategy for this creation or pre-production, productions, or after you screen at the festival?
Yes.
Yeah, need to go beyond just putting on social media.
So to anybody listening, in terms of getting started with the film, the number one, and this has sort of been my, I guess, learning curve. And sadly, I've kind of just come to the realization of this, 3 short films and tons of money later spent. You really have to be clear of what a dance film can actually offer you. As a creator, like what benefit is it going to bring you, and what are you actually trying to get out of creating that short film? So, and there's a spectrum. So there's the dance film that you're recording with your phone. You are just doing it yourself, or maybe you recruit your friend to help and you're using costumes that you already have and you're not getting lights or anything like that. So there's a film that can be made for $0. And then there are films that you're trying to compete to get into Sundance that are costing up or over $50,000. So and you're using, actual film crew. And so it depends on where you go in the spectrum. And there's going to be benefits and, pluses and minuses to both of those categories. Realistically, what can a dance film offer you as a creator? First of all, the number one reason to create one is just because you want to. And it's just, I want to see, I have this piece, I really want to make it. I want to see what it looks like. That's the number one reason, quite frankly, is just, I want to make this piece and I want to share it with other people. Another reason to make it is you have your own dance company and you're making repertoire that you're going to combine with live repertoire that you already have. That, I think, it makes sense to spend the money for something like that. Or you've been commissioned by another dance company or something like that. But you're feeding into an audience that you already have. Now, if you want to expand outside of that, you have film festivals, and this is the most utilized way to get, besides just posting it online for free, of getting your dance film out there. And it's an opportunity for you to get to meet filmmaker in the film world. The dance film is seen as kind of like a music video. It's not really a film.
Right.
Interesting.
And so they're like, and so oftentimes I'll apply to both categories to try to get, cover both ways, but they still see it as where it's like, it's super obvious. I'm telling a very clear story, but because there's no dialogue, it's not being treated as a real film. And also these other big film festivals, a big reason why people go is they're bringing short films that they want to turn into feature films. And that is by far the number one reason. And this is the challenge from a distribution standpoint for dance films, is that there isn't a natural progression from a dance short film into something that's going to make money. Short films just do not make money. Not only do you not make a profit, you don't even to get any money at all for anything you've made from a short film is really rare. Usually you have to expect you're just throwing it away for a passion project. And you're going to be paying for it yourself, unless you're one of the very few people that gets a grant, but that is super, super rare. Or if you do crowdfunding, but that takes forever. And so assume you're going to be paying for it yourself. So you're doing it because you want to get your name out there. You want to get your face out there. You want to network with people. And that's pretty much the benefit.
Get me thinking, how do we build audiences for dance? I mean, that's been an issue, dance advocacy, but for stories being told through dance. What do you think, though,
Genuinely,
Be.
genuinely, I think the biggest first step that has to happen, I mean, and this is what I'm working toward. It's a very hard climb, and we'll see if it actually ends up being successful. That is very much up to be decided. But we 100% have to get dance feature film. And I'm not saying conceptual. I think that that's going to be a really, really hard climb, and I don't necessarily know but we have to get films that feature dance to be back in the sphere again. And especially a revival of the musical and a re-envisioning of what the movie musical looks like. But we have to get dance to be featured in feature films, and for a feature film not only to have occasional dances, but for the dance to actually be an integral part in communicating the narrative, so that people start to see, oh, okay, so dance is not just this fun sideshow. It's actually something that communicates a narrative. That's what people really in film really care. And as they should, the whole point is you're communicating a narrative, but we're so disconnected from our bodies and society. And we're also most people don't do dance. And so they don't know how to read that. They just look at it and they're like, oh, they're just moving. But no, that finger movement, that facial movement, that means that she's rejecting him. That means that he's coming back to her. That means we've lost kind of that intuitive sense of the language of movement. And so bringing that back into our entertainment, and it's starting to happen in a very small way, but it's definitely starting to happen. But a big part of it is going to be having films that feature movement, but also the directors being the choreographers, them being the same person. You'll notice that films that these people are, when they're not the same person, it's a very different film where the technology is still figuring itself out. And so the art right now is in this state of purgatory where it's like, okay, are we just going to go to streaming? Are we streaming and also doing the theater thing? Are we going to have theater and streaming simultaneously? Or is it like theater for 1 month and then it goes on these streaming sites? And then are we just going to keep dumping as much content as possible on these platforms that most people don't even watch, but it's just about getting numbers? Or are we going to start investing more in bigger quality projects? So there's just this big kind of sorting, I guess, that's happening. And then also, which of the streaming services are going to even be around in the next 5 years? I think a lot of consolidation is going to start to happen in the next few years. And so which are going to be the ones that end up surviving? So while this is being figured out, the art is kind of in this weird state because we don't exactly, there's kind of just this big grab bag happening. But some decision has to be made at some point of what the role the theater plays within film and if it still has a role. And I think that the audience is really speaking in terms of what that is right now. And that's people going to the theater used to be, and by a theater, I mean a movie theater. It used to be an actual experience. People would get dressed up and they would go to the theater and there was an intermission. And during the intermission, people would go out and they, buy food or whatever. It was an event and the theater would be filled. And now it's like you go and it's like, okay, cool. I want to, fine, I'll go. You don't really dress up, whatever. And maybe you get popcorn or something, but it feels like you basically are paying $20 to rent a chair for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then it's like, done, you're out, over, go. There's no it feels so, the last time I went to the theater, and I went literally just because I wanted to give the director my money, because I just wanted to support. I love Edgar Wright's my favorite director, and I will give anything he does money because I want his movies made. But I didn't go because I wanted to go to the theater. I just wanted to give him my money and support him. So, but I'm sitting there in this chair and it was just like, I'm not getting anything from this film experience, quite honestly. And maybe I know that I'm not the only one. I know there are some people that still love going to the theater, but for $20 or whatever, it just didn't feel worth my time so it's like, okay, how do we make the theater experience? How do we make the theater, going to the theater, actually an experience that people are going to want? And I think at some point it's going to be, if you want to just see a film just to see it, you go see it at home. Streaming, that it just makes the most sense. But if you want an experience, you go to the theater. How do we make film not that passive experience, like not this passive thing where you're just sitting there for 2 hours and then you get up and leave? How do we make it where it's a little bit more of an integrated experience and people will pay more for it?
Right.
But where people, so there's so many different ideas that I have and you know, there's probably way bigger things that I haven't even thought of, but like where the theater becomes a place where it's like you have a membership or something and it's about having a full packed house. Seeing a film with a packed house is something we're not really used to, but so my film was in the Mill Valley Film Festival, and I went to see one of the feature films there, and they were having the premiere. Place was packed. There were press outside, all this stuff, but it was the first time in so long, maybe 10 years or whatever, that I had been in a theater that was full. And it was just, we were just watching it. It wasn't like it was this full integrated experience, but it reminded me, it was like I'm sitting there and we're laughing all together. And it was just it was magical. I was like, I get to laugh with other people. And it made it into an event because there were many other people there. So finding some sort of way, I think that is a very valuable experience of having less screenings, but where it's like it becomes a premiere kind of party event where you get to see a film. Also where films become participatory. This is a huge thing that I'm personally really into, and where I think dance has a huge opportunity, where we can really have dance film kind of rise above the rest in this way of having people, you're not just sitting there. You have, just like there's, this is like DDR and whatever, where you're like dancing.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like you're going to have people like, dancing on this little light up pad or whatever, but where there's some sort of live component to a film. Like it used to be that there was a pianist there and they would be playing piano live to the film on the screen. Not necessarily something like that, but where there's some sort of live component that's integrated to a film. In the film, not my most recent film, but the last film that I did, it was a short film, but we had an audience participation component to the piece where before the film started, I got up in front of the audience and I taught them 4 hand gestures. Boom, 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 boom. And super simple. Exactly. Yep. It's diamond necklace, talk to the double hand, bad jazz V, and drunk deer up here. And this is something that anyone can do. And so we just practiced it a few times, da, 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 da. And they're sitting there in their chair. And I said, okay, halfway through the film, you're going to see up on the screen 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to perform this with the dancers on the screen, and they're going to be doing that. And so the dancers are there. It goes up 5, 6, 7, 8. The dancers are going 1, 2, and they're doing their whole little thing and all these different variations. And then the whole audience is there, sitting in their seats, grooving along with them.
That's amazing. I mean, I think of like when I, these experiences of like, like maybe our generation when Harry Potter came out, or like these big films, and the reason why I felt special is because people went to that premiere that day, or they got dressed up. Like, what if we dressed up for the film? So
yes, 100%. And also, and I think, and when you have a film already that has as much, notoriety as Harry Potter, you're going to get that. But even like with a new film, okay, you release your characters ahead of time.
Right.
And if they come dressed up, they get a ticket, like a free ticket to, and with dance films, then you can have live performance versions of them. So let's say they get like 50% off of the ticket.
Right. I know we can talk
forever.
Yeah. We got some really good ideas.
We should invite you again.
Forces.
Right.
Oh, I'd be happy to. This has been great.
Yeah. I really enjoyed listening to all of your, like, from your experience and your ideas. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
It is. We have our last portion, which we call Flash 4, where we ask all our guests to answer 4 questions in a flash. So, Paty, you want to lead it?
Flash 4.
Sure.
Yes.
If you had to recommend a resource to our audience, what would it be? It could be a book, podcast, someone to follow, a website, blog, YouTube channel, other than your own.
Any book written by Robert Greene.
What was the first dance you ever saw?
Okay, technically it was the Nutcracker, I guess, but the first, I guess, modern artsy or whatever one would be the Green Table.
Do you think social media has a positive influence on the dance world? Yes or no?
In general, no.
What is your favorite social media platform?
I guess YouTube.
But before you go, is there anything you want to share with our audience?
I mean, I would love, or I guess if anyone's interested in learning more about my projects and about me, you can visit my website. It's Caroline Liviakis, Liviakis.com. And I'm also, you can see my projects on YouTube and we can connect there.
Yay!
Amazing.
Yay! It was nice to meeting you, and it was very fun conversation. And also, thank you to both of you. Thank you, Paty.
Yes, thank you. This was fun, you guys. I enjoyed this.
The NoBox Dance Film Festival, NBFF, is now accepting submissions for its 4th year as an independent film festival. NBFF seeks dance-related films that challenge the possibilities of what dance can look like in video form. NBFF has 3 categories for submissions. Some are short series, general, and documentaries. For more information and how to apply, visit filmfreeway.com/NoBox Dance Film Festival. KNOWBOX Dance Film Festival. Visit our website, knowboxdance.com, or DM us on social media.
Thanks for taking your time to tune into Dance Behind the Screen, a bi-monthly interview series where we go behind the screen to question process, product, and social media. Be sure to follow us on social media at KNOWBoxDance. See you next time, and don't forget to say no to the box.